So we watched this game, Afolabi and Kunle, and Senegal played perfect. They didn't come out and try to press too much or try to attack too much or anything else. They did actually start the game by being a little bit aggressive on attack. And I realized that bringing Jackson back in, even though he destabilizes the structure of the team, having him in was going to exploit the chaos of a game playing against Egypt, because we know that Jackson is a very erratic player, but this game goes back and forth. But it didn't even work out that way. What it worked out was a masterpiece game by Senegal where they controlled the midfield. They kept the ball away from Egypt. Mane was sometimes in midfield, sometimes he was on the wing, but they controlled the tempo, and never in that game did Egypt press or use their style of football, which is fast break football, like Afolabi says, long bursting football, which is high tempo. Senegal slowed the tempo down. And I think at the beginning of the game, they used a decoy. Senegal first came as if they were going to try to attack through the wings and be aggressive, which is what Egypt wants. But all of a sudden, they backed off a little bit. They used their shape, kept the ball away from Egypt. And also, the left fullback for Senegal did a perfect job of neutralizing Salah. So the main thing I got from this game was that Senegal slowed the tempo down, and they made Egypt try to play them in a style of football that Egypt is not used to playing. And they had enough individual brilliance from who, as far as I'm concerned, along with Lookman, Mane is the man of the tournament. Both Lookman and Mane are wingers, but they're doing work in midfield. They're distributing the ball, and they're doing whatever it takes for their team to win. What do you think, Afolabi?
I quite agree with you. And Sadio Mane, we've always known him that in spite of his talent and his undoubted ability, his work ethic and industry is what sets him apart. And he was there for them today, pressing, harrowing, closing gaps, and, seeing where he can sniff. And like you rightly mentioned, the left fullback, I think the guy has already watched some of Salah's videos, knowing that Salah is a left-footed player playing on the right. So he ensured that Salah couldn't check in on his left leg. He kept on targeting that place. Anytime Salah wants to turn on his left leg, it's like when you're playing against Saka in Arsenal, they're notoriously one-legged. Yeah. So he ensured that Salah did not have joy there. In fact, about 3 dribbles, the moment Salah wanted to accelerate, he just stopped him. And then you look at the way Senegal played in general. Bringing back Nicholas Jackson, basically for me, was to pin down the center backs, because he's more of a 9. So he was able to pin down the center backs, and they couldn't move forward to do any kind of pressing. So I think it was an excellent tactic. And the only time that the most productive player for Egypt, Imam Ashour, was able to tread the pass through was when the Senegalese Koulibaly got a yellow card. That was the only pass that went through, and he got a yellow card for that. And soon after, he got injured, and it was changed. And they brought in a more youthful defender who basically just, shot short. They couldn't play through Senegal, and Egypt was, they were quite content to sit back. How very, very, very naive they were, because this Senegal team, they know how to open spaces. They know how to cross. In fact,
I think it's fear, because Egypt doesn't play that way. They don't sit back.
Sitting back and defending.
I think that was fear. Egypt had fear.
Probably. Maybe the fear.
That's not how they play. That's not how they.
The Senegalese probably, but I don't think it was a good tactic.
And with the way
they gave them too much respect.
Yeah, it was respect is the word. Too much respect. And also, Senegal gave them a little bit of respect, but what Senegal was basically doing through that whole game was, remember I say asking questions, doing passes. They would unlock certain areas. Then when they get to the last part, there was no area to unlock. So they were being patient and knowing that their defense could sustain them, and they just needed one goal. And that goal by Mane was fantastic, because he could have tried to change his positioning so he could have a better shot. His shot was awkward. But as soon as he saw it, that comes from a player who's played for Liverpool, who's played for years. That goal he scored was instinctive. That was a natural striker's goal. What do you think of Falabi? Then we'll go to Kume.
Yeah,
so he's like, I'm drinking my wine. Let me talk.
The experience is there. And you could see from the way he collects the ball, Mane is very good in tight spaces and his press resistance. And he showed that in that goal. He was able to collect the ball in a very, very tight space and maneuver and score the goal. And I think his credit to his quality, all the pressing and the press resistance he learned from Jurgen Klopp, they're still basically there. I think he's just lost a shade of pace because of age.
Yeah, yeah.
Still very useful.
But he's not like Messi.
Very
He
useful.
adapts on the pitch and does whatever.
Yes,
He's lost some pace, but he hasn't lost work rate. What are your thoughts, Kool-Aid?
Yeah, I think Senegal played a very good game. Egypt, I actually understand Egypt's game. If you watch the first half, that first half was basically what Egypt wanted the whole game to be.
Are you calling me stupid? I'm just
yeah, Egypt wanted to play a game of attrition. They never sought to attack. They just wanted to let Senegal come onto them and keep coming onto them, and maybe later Egypt might maybe catch Senegal off guard. Senegal, to their wisdom, they knew that Egypt was going to play this game. So when they attacked, as Mufa said, they probed. They probed for weaknesses. They found weaknesses down Egypt's right flank, which Sadio Mane utilized, where the goal eventually came from, but not in the style in which they had been probing towards the time of the actual goal. But that was the area that Egypt had a problem. Their right wing and their right, what they'll call in hockey, right inner. Those two positions were very, very vulnerable. And as Afolabi had said, Nicholas Jackson, the only problem Nicholas Jackson never had was his finishing. Apart from his finishing, as a striker in every other way, he's as best as any world-class striker. In movement, in stressing the central defenders, in tiring them out, in looking for spaces so that he can get in positions where he can receive the ball, either receive the ball running onto the ball or receive the ball with his back to goal, which is what a proper number 9 can do. He's not just someone that runs onto the ball, and this caused problems for. That is why they were.
The only weakness is that he doesn't turn his back to the goal. He can't. He's not effective with his back to the. He can
do it. You know, every number 9 has to be able to play a little bit with their back to the goal, and he was able to do that on a few occasions today. And he really pinned down. He really pressured those centre backs, and I think that it was part of that reason, because they were aware of the threat from Nicholas Jackson, that they stood back a bit on Mane. Mane was playing a little bit deep, and if you saw, even his goal came from quite deep. But it always looked like it was going to be. I always felt Nicholas Jackson was going to be the one to score.
You know what?
Then Egypt, if you watch, Egypt never attempted to score until the last 10 minutes of the game.
They played like that earlier.
Suddenly they realized they could break the Senegalese defense, but they had no time. They should have gone after them earlier, because they knocked on the door at the end, but they just didn't have enough time.
Yeah, let me tell you, that's going to be a crazy game, Senegal versus Nigeria. You know what I heard? I heard Morocco has bought the game, and Nigeria is going to sit back. They paid off the Nigerian players. I heard a rumor from somebody. I don't know if it's true. Right. But no, if you watch the game, this is what the guy said. A guy from Algeria that I know that works at the U.S. here. He said that Nigeria is going to sit back and play defensive. If you see them playing defensively, that means that game has been bought. Let's wait and see. But
I don't think Nigeria play defensive unless they don't want to qualify, because Nigeria play defensive are not.
If they lose this game, the only way they lose this game is if they threw the game. I'm serious, but we'll see. Let me not sound like
good defensively.
Let me not sound like the Goody and
they should play. They should play. You score 4, I score 5.
Wait, what is Morocco? Morocco is easy. Morocco is easy. They're easy.
They didn't concede any goal in the first 15 minutes either.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Although Nigeria can come back from that, but it's not ideal. You want to hold on for the first 15 minutes because of the crowd.
Yeah. Afolabi, take us out. Then before we go, I have something to say. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's been after you cut off the court. AFCON review of the Senegalese victory over Egypt. Senegal is through to the finals, and they will be in Rabat on Sunday to face either Morocco or Nigeria. From Kune.
Nigeria or Nigeria. We'll be back again.